Hi Taurus, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carol, and Taurus, this is going to be a general reading for you, and there's no date on this reading, so I trust that when you find it, it's meant for you. And I want to welcome any new people out there that are coming to my channel, and I would appreciate it if you subscribe, if you took the time maybe to comment and let me know if it's your first time here, maybe tell me how the reading resonated, if it did or not. I'd appreciate it. Also, we're going to be doing the blind spot today. So the best oracle deck that I could think of to start us off is the Blind Spot Oracle cards by Teal Swan. And this is probably one of the first oracle decks I bought when I started reading tarot, because I was looking for something that could take a real deep dive into shadow work, because this whole channel is about shadow work. It's about the healing journey. It's about inner work. And so these particular sigils, which are they look like symbols, but they're not symbols according to Teal Swan. She downloaded these, and they're actually, she describes them as having a magical power. And the power will, seep into this reading, and it's going to help us bring awareness. This sigil, number 23, is going to help us bring awareness to what your blind spot is, Taurus. And so before I came on, I picked your card, only because each description is about 3 or 4 pages long and very small print. She gives a lot of information in her little guidebook here. So I go into the reading of it, and I pick out some important points that I think are, necessary for you to hear. All right. So you're number 23, and your card, this sigil is called Inauthenticity. So if you've drawn this sigil, you are not being authentic. You are not being honest to yourself or to others. We can only be authentic to the degree that we currently know ourselves. For this reason, it is critical to look inside yourself. Authenticity is the conscious mending of the incongruences between one's inner self and outer self. So authenticity is when your inside matches your outside. For example, when a person is working at a job they hate, this is inauthentic because their outer work does not match their inner desires for work. When a person says they like someone or acts as if they do, when the truth is they hate them and want to be nowhere near them, this is inauthentic. So be willing to look bad to yourself and others, or at least be willing to confront the incredible terror you have of doing this. We spend our whole lives trying to avoid shame. Shame is the number one enemy to the human ego. But this means that we are constantly avoiding anything that is real about us that could possibly make us look bad to ourselves or to others. And I think that's the key. So I'm going to read it again. But this means that we are constantly avoiding anything that is real about us that could possibly make us look bad to others or ourselves. So we are never actually able to face and work with what is real about us. Whatever you're trying to defend is in fact the vulnerability that you need to be authentic about. The reason we aren't authentic is because we're afraid of what will happen if we are. We're afraid that we're going to be rejected, unloved, and not received because we've been taught, either intentionally or unintentionally, that we will be. So in this situation, you are not being authentic. What do you really think, feel, need, and want to do? What is real? All right, so we're going to look at, I'm going to take the Curious Travels Tarot deck, first of all, and then I'm going to use, here's the Curious Travels deck. And then I'm going to clarify that with the Radiant Rider-Waite. And we're going to look at what situation, issue, decision you're facing right now. And then what we're going to do is look up what's coming up from your shadow that needs healing. So we're going to do some shadow work in the second part, because this is all about healing. So there's something here that's causing you to be inauthentic. And we're going to look at what is it that needs healing. You know, those are the things we've pushed away when we were younger. And people told us things about ourselves. Certain things happen to us. Trauma happens. We have memories around certain things. And this is what's coming up for you to heal. And then what guidance does the tarot have for you? That'll be very important for you because that'll give you a starting point, right? Rather than me trying to give you a magic pill for what's going on. The tarot's going to really focus on something that they want you to focus on. And then I'll offer you some videos. Usually it's a little playlist or one video from my other channel called Carol Cares. And on that channel, I give you, there's some videos on there for your mental health. And it's always going to be something that's specific to what you need to work on. So let's begin. I want to ask the tarot right now one card for the situation, issue, decision that Taurus is facing right now. In regards to inauthenticity. One card, please. Okay, 9 of Swords in reverse. It's your first card. And then I'm going to look at what's coming up from your shadow for healing. One card. Oh, fascinating. Oh, sorry. I always call that the 9 of Swords. That's the 9 of Cups. I was thinking, so how could that be? So you got the 9 of Cups here and then the 9 of Swords in reverse. So both of them are in reverse, but it's funny how I can look at this and I'm thinking, those look like swords. And I did that in my last reading. I gotta be careful with that. So you have the 9 of Cups to start off with, and then the 9 of Swords in reverse. Both of them are in reverse. 9 of Swords for your shadow. And then what guidance does the tarot have for Taurus? All right, so it looks like I have the Hierophant card, the 9 of Pentacles in reverse, and the Death card. All right, so I don't think I need any clarifiers here, but I will ask for clarifiers for the 9 of Cups, couple cards to clarify the 9 of Cups. One more. You have the Ace of Pentacles and the Knight of Cups. And a couple cards for the 9 of Swords. There's one that fell out already. And one more. There we go. Okay, so the 9 of Pentacles in reverse and the Knight of Wands. Behind the Knight of Swords. So let's look at your situation, problem, issue that you're dealing with right now. We have the 9 of Cups in reverse. And in an upright position, the 9 of Cups speaks about this individual that has hidden themselves behind these 9 of Cups. Now, remember that the pip cards go from Ace to 10. And 10 is like the end of a cycle, and it means, you know, it's a cycle's ending and something's ready to, you know, start again in a different way, maybe. In this case, you've got to the 9 of Cups, and you've decided that, you know, you're hidden behind, you're hiding behind something, hiding behind these cups. And cups are all about our emotions. And so I often see this card, because it is a healing channel, as I call it the spiritual bypasser card. It's kind of the card that says, you know, And you have to be really careful about when I say spiritual bypass, what do I mean by that? Well, it kind of, you know, there's a few instances where I can say that someone's spiritual bypassing. And the first one is when they've decided that they're healed already. And they've done lots of healing, or they've done some healing, and, you know, they've decided, you know what, I don't want to heal anymore. I'm done healing. Or it's like, they've shut off their emotions. They've completely shut off from the emotions. You know, you can just the whole body, when you can read their body language, it's like, I don't want to feel, I don't want to touch my emotions anymore. I'm petrified to do that, right? And sometimes when you spiritual bypass also, you can be caught up in a lot of spiritual stuff that's around there. I know you can, you know, people start to follow certain people online. For example, I mean, my introduction here was Teal Swan's card, and I know she has an incredible following. And sometimes we can get into, I mean, some of those spiritual people are interesting, but sometimes we can actually use that as a form of sort of, it's sort of like another way of just numbing out our own pain, right? If we can get caught up in that spirituality. But that's not what's going to get us to where we need to go. It's doing the actual work of feeling our emotions. And so this is in reverse now, because to me, it's like you really need to take a look at, how are you avoiding your emotions? How are you spiritual bypassing? Like any of those ones that I described, is that you? How are you doing that? In what way have you decided, you know what, I'm done healing, or I don't want to feel anymore? And then what's very interesting is you get this offer right beside this, you know, saying, well, I don't want to feel anymore. And maybe there's something in there that's inauthentic to yourself, right? Maybe you're being inauthentic because inauthenticity, it said the first line was, this can be towards other people or can be towards yourself. So I'm thinking here that this is towards yourself, where you're being dishonest with yourself about your emotions. And whether that's, like I said, saying I don't want to feel anymore, or maybe you're done healing, you know, you're finished, you're done, you don't have anything else to heal. But then there's this offer that comes up here, and it's like, this is a new beginning for you. And the universe wants to get you to that 10, right? You're just at the 9, but you've decided, nope. And the universe says, but wait a minute here. Here's like a new beginning for you. I'm going to offer you this pentacle. And remember, you don't have to take it. Just because there's an offer here, and that's exactly what it is. It's not somebody forcing it on you. It's not somebody dropping it on your head. It's like, here you go. Look what I have for you. Here is a pentacle. And that is your body. The Ace of Pentacles, the pentacle itself represents our body. And so the universe is saying, well, I want you to get embodied. I want you to get back into your body, because that's where our emotions are. And oftentimes when we've decided we don't want to feel anymore, we'll go up in our heads, and that's where our ego will keep us, because our ego wants nothing to do with emotions. And so that's where it'll keep us, in our head. And so are you up in your head by telling yourself, I'm done healing, or I don't have anything else more to heal? And so the universe says, here's an offer for you to get grounded, right? And that's what it means to get back in your body. An offer for you to get grounded. And then you have a Knight of Cups that comes in as this ending card here. And it's funny because it's a knight that's offering a cup here. And the knight is the part of us that wants freedom. And I think there's a big part of you. This is the part, like, I always think of this as a part, like an adolescent part of us. Think of an adolescent that wants freedom. And we all have this part inside of us that wants freedom to have authentic relationships, to be able to offer their cup to people, that wants freedom to love and be loved, that wants freedom from pain, wants freedom from oppression, wants to be themselves. And so I think there's a real part of you that wants the freedom to be yourself in relationships. And this is it. This is what's probably causing you some pain here. Probably causing you some real hopelessness, thinking, I don't know how I can have authentic relationships in my life. I don't understand. Maybe you invite the wrong people in all the time. You attract the wrong types of people. But, and there's some real heavy emotions maybe around this that need to be felt. And so we're going to look at what's in your shadow. You know, maybe it's going to give us some clues as to why these same type of people keep coming up in your life, why you're not able to have authentic relationships, because I think that's what you're facing right now, where you don't feel like you can be authentic with people. Oftentimes, and this is coming from experience, we can change who we are when we go into our relationships, right? Because we try to read our partner. It could be, you know, I'm not talking necessarily intimate relationships here. It's with anyone. And we can change who we are because we're trying to get someone to love us, right? So what is it from your childhood that is coming up here for healing in relationship to you wanting authentic relationships, right? And so you have in reverse the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords, because this is in your shadow, I see this card as memories. There's some sort of memories here that's coming up for you. And it's in reverse because I think there's a fear on your part, of the real resistance on your part of looking at this. So there's a memory that's behind what you're facing right now in regards to not getting authentic relationships. There's a memory here that wants to come up for you around that. Because when you were younger, when you were a teenager again, here's another knight, and I see my knights, I call them my freedom fighters. They're fighting for your freedom. But this one is a faster one. It's a faster horse, a faster knight, because there was a real drive on your part when you were younger to go towards what you wanted to do or who you wanted to be. And that's buried here. And so there's a memory around you being told maybe that you weren't enough or that you couldn't do something. You were stopped when you were younger from doing something you really, really wanted to do. And when we were stopped when we were younger from doing what we wanted to do, when we didn't have the freedom to do what we wanted to do, we would have lost a lot of worthiness, of thinking, well, I don't matter, right? And so I think what's going on is, I think there's a real feeling of you not mattering in your relationships, but that's coming from when you were younger. And the last card here in your shadow is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. In an upright position, this card speaks about abundance. It speaks about someone that has committed their life to passion and doing what they like to do, and then finally they're allowed to do what they want to do, and because that's where it comes in after all this hard work has paid off. But this is in reverse here. So there's a part of you that never got to do what you wanted to do. And so because you came from, I'm going to say, sort of a restricted, maybe a controlling environment when you were younger, where you never got to do what you wanted to do. You never got to be you. You have now realized, well, you realized when you were younger that the real you wasn't good enough. Right? And so now when you go into relationships, any relationships, you realize, I mean, it's like you have this mask on that says, this is who I am because the real me is not good enough. So I'm going to put this mask on. Then you meet this person and you think, oh, this is the mask I need to put on. And then another one, because the real person, the real you can't come out because you're afraid. And Teal Swan talked about shame, right? You're afraid of showing the real you because when you were younger, that got rejected. And so you're afraid that that's going to happen again. And so what's the guidance from the tarot for you, Taurus? Well, you have the Hierophant card coming out first of all, and this is a powerful card to come out because you have to realize that this is first of all a major arcana card. So this is a big card, and it's the first one that's come out in your reading. That's the major arcana, and this card speaks about these individuals right here. They've come here to gather some sort of wisdom from this owl, right? The owl, the figure of being very wise, and it's spewing out. It kind of reminds me of the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy goes to the Great Oz and, you know, try to get some information. She wants to go back home. And so I'm sure you all know that story. I probably messed it up a bit, but that's okay. But it's this story about these two individuals wanting to get this wisdom from this owl. And so how does that relate to you? Well, this is, just imagine yourself when you were younger and how you as a person got the message when you were younger that you didn't matter because of this. And that is our wiring, right? That's how we're wired. And so we continue to go on in life with that message that we received when we were younger. And that's what's going to continue to rule or guide all our relationships. And so this card comes out as your guidance from the tarot, saying, you need to look at, Taurus, how were you wired when you were younger? And I think you're understanding now how you were wired, right? This whole thing about not mattering. How were you wired? And the Nine of Pentacles comes up again in reverse. Like it's like, here's a really strong message for you because it was in your shadow. And so I think you need to decide right now, well, where are you going to turn your focus on? Where do you want to go in order to get, you know, that feeling of completeness, of abundance in your life? I use the word abundance because that's the card that's kind of related to this, but it's like, it's in reverse because there's a real resistance to you doing this. But I look at this card as also a self-care card. You know, when I see the beautiful dress that she's put on herself and the time she's taken to put those pentacles placed beautifully all over her dress, it looks beautiful, but she's put that self-care into herself. So, and because it's in reverse, the universe is saying, well, you know, I think it's time for you to start putting yourself first. You matter, and there's only one person that's going to be able to change that, and that's you. It's you that has to decide, I'm going to change this wiring that I have in my head that I don't matter. And then your final card is the Death card. And this is big. Your message from the universe has two major arcana cards. These are big universal forces. And this is a big message to you, right? Change your wiring. How are you wired? And then the last card is the Death card. This is a big card of transformation. It's like there's some real big transformation that's needed, that's happening for you right now. But there's something important here. The Death card talks about physically losing things or people that don't serve us anymore. And so Taurus, it's a time now that you have to look at, especially with our relationships, right? Who are the people in your life that don't recognize you, that don't appreciate who you are? Because what happens is if we've been wired to believe we don't matter, we're going to keep on attracting and calling in these people to show us that we're right, right? To show us that we're right, to show us that we don't matter. And you're going to continue to keep trying to put on that, that mask, that inauthentic mask, because you're covering up who you really are. And so who are the people in your life that will accept the real Taurus to come out right now, if you were to take off those masks? But there are some people in your life, some things, some habits maybe that need to be dropped and need to change. Something needs to change in your life because there's something or people that are reminding you that you don't matter. And those are the things that you have to start letting go of. So, oftentimes, yeah. No, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave the death card like that. Yeah, so I'm going to leave you with, I think one of the most important messages here is how to change the wiring that you have in your head. I'm going to leave you with a playlist on how to ground yourself, because you had the Ace of Pentacles at the beginning here of there's an offer for you. And I think that that offer is very important for you to learn how to get back into your body so that you can start to feel. Sometimes we have some big emotions, especially around this middle part right here where you were told you didn't matter. And this is learning how to ground into your body and start to feel some of these emotions and what you felt like as a child when you were told you didn't matter. That's important for healing. And that's when you're going to be able to do this last step right here, is to start letting go of people in your life or things in your life that no longer serve you. Right? That's part of this healing journey that we're all on. So I want you to have compassion for yourself, Taurus, for what you're working through. Inner work, the healing journey is a very difficult journey, but it's the most important one in your life. So take care, and I'll talk soon. Bye.